Here comes the weekend. Here comes Michael Snyder as we go out to the left coast of America to see what's happening in movies this week. Hello, Michael.
Well, howdy, Alex, and hi, everybody out there in internet land or wherever the hell you're listening to this. And it is the weekend, and we do have films. And again, the studios or the distributors have been uneasy about a movie and haven't shown it to the critics. It's called Rings. It's the latest in the series of horror movies adapted from Ringu, the Japanese horror film that was kind of an original take on, haunted videotapes. I mean, videotapes? Seriously? Anybody still using videotapes, even in horror movies? Anyway, they didn't show us Rings, so you are, of course, on your own with this one. No names of note involved in it, except for maybe Johnny Galecki of The Big Bang Theory. One of his colleagues, Simon Helberg, gets into, Florence Foster Jenkins. This guy's in Rings, man. Oh, Vincent D'Onofrio's in it, too. If you're a fan of either of those guys, weep for their careers, I suppose. All right, movies I was able to see and review aren't always so great either. Like, take The Space Between Us, a teen-skewed sci-fi romance that strains more to take off than a Saturn rocket fueled with charcoal lighter fluid. A kid named Gardner is born on Mars. He's the son of the female commander of the first Mars mission, who, by the way, when you look at her, you're thinking, she's not the female commander of the first Mars mission. Anyway, she takes off either knowingly or unknowingly pregnant and gives birth to the child on Mars. And since he's born and raised there, and a pregnant woman shouldn't have commanded a mission to Mars, the government keeps him a secret. And since he's raised on Mars, the lighter gravity makes him physically unable to get by on Earth. But the, of course, brilliant kid has access to computers and such, and by the time he's a horny teenager, played by Asa Butterfield, he has an earthbound pen pal, a rebellious but adorable misfit teenage girl, who is played by Britt Robertson, who is making a career of playing misfit teenage girls, and particularly cute, adorable ones. She was the girl in the Misbegotten Tomorrowland movie, by the way. Okay, so this kid, Gardner, wants to come to Earth and meet her and, make out or whatever. I mean, he's going to come to Earth one way or the other, even though the stress of our gravity would kill him. Their meet cute and time on the run on terra firma may or may not kill him, but it definitely killed my spirit. I'd put plenty of space between you and the space between us. And by the way, Gary Oldman is the government official in charge of the original Mars mission here. Carla Gugino is the teenage Gardner's guardian on Mars. And the director, Peter Chelsom, is a British guy who did a pretty nice rom-com called Serendipity in 2001, but a lot of crowd pandering stuff since then. This might be a low point. He also co-authored the script. Bad, Peter. Bad. Okay. Much better from another person who comes to us over the Atlantic is War on Everyone, starring Alexander Skarsgård and Michael Pena as a couple of corrupt cops who threaten, beat up, and extort criminals in sun-drenched Albuquerque, New Mexico. Why? Because they can, and also they can feather their nests with the cash they siphon off. Their captain, amazingly enough, is played by Paul Reiser, and he's constantly calling them on the carpet, then letting them off the hook. But when they try to shake down this weird androgynous strip club manager and his psychotic boss, all hell breaks loose. Terry's a single guy who woos a hot bad girl played by Tessa Thompson from Westwood. Bob is a devoted family man with a hot, smart, snarky wife and chubby, mouthy kids. Both guys are heedless idiots who don't care about the consequences and leave destruction in their wake while quipping at their marks and verbally sniping at one another. It's funny here and there. It really is, and it's certainly over the top. There's a lot of energy and action, but I liked it better last year when it was a 70s period piece with Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling called The Nice Guys. Right, The Nice Guys was a better film than War on Everyone. The odd thing is that the previous two movies from the writer-director behind War on Everyone, Ireland, I believe he's Irish, John Michael McDonough, the previous films were awesome. I loved The Guard and Cavalry, but this is diverting enough to recommend it as a cable TV or streaming choice. All right, I was disappointed after initially excited about The Comedian, which is a movie that turns out to be a vehicle for Robert De Niro back in Rupert Pupkin mode. Well, I don't know. He plays a comedian who was a very successful TV sitcom star who cannot leave that character behind. Everyone constantly is badgering him when they run into him to do the catchphrase from the show, and he's basically fallen on hard times. He's trying to get rolling again as a stand-up comedian and be taken seriously, so he's hitting all the clubs and interacting with, various comedians that we know from real life, and he's also dealing with an uncomfortable family situation. His brother, played by Danny DeVito, that's right, Robert De Niro and Danny DeVito are playing brothers in this thing. This guy runs a butcher shop, and his angry wife, played by Patti LuPone, is constantly belittling Jackie, the Robert De Niro character. So he kind of screws up a little bit, and he has to do a community service gig because he attacks an audience member who heckles him. And in community service, he meets Leslie Mann's character, who is the daughter of Harvey Keitel, a rip-off real estate guy. And the two of them have some sort of bizarre kind of almost uncle-niece relationship. Is it romantic? What's going on here? Anyway, this is directed by Taylor Hackford, and very disappointing considering his pedigree, although he's made some dogs too. I hoped for a lot from this thing. I thought, well, the pieces are all in place, and, the writers, some of them are pretty solid. Jeffrey Ross is involved in this thing, I guess writing some of the quips, and Art Linson, a few others. Just disappointing. There's a small couple of roles for Edie Falco and Charles Grodin. This thing was top-loaded with really talented actors, and the comedian disappointed me. Again, this is something you might want to watch on TV if you're a fan of any of the performers. I wanted to love it, and I couldn't. I Am Not Your Negro is an incredibly powerful documentary about James Baldwin and the African-American condition in America. He wanted to do a book, apparently, in the late 70s that was going to tell about the lives and the deaths of people he knew very, very well, and major figures in the rise of the African-American freedom movement in America, Medgar Evers, Malcolm X, and Martin Luther King Jr. But when he died, there were only about 30 pages left. So this documentary by Raoul Peck takes this book and the materials from the book and other writings by Baldwin and puts together a beautiful and powerful look at the state of race here in the States. And he has the benefit of Samuel L. Jackson narrating as the Baldwin voice, and he has wonderful, moving, and striking archival footage. And it deals with so many different issues, including the way the African-American experience has been depicted in American culture, what people have had to go through, the possibilities of the future, the inspiration of Barack Obama becoming president, and, of course, from this standpoint, the odd circumstances we find ourselves in right now. So I give top marks to I Am Not Your Negro. It's a very, very moving and informative and ultimately uplifting experience at the movies, and that doesn't happen very often. Let's wrap things up with The Lure, a freaky and fantastic film from Poland, super colorful, darkly comic, and a bit grisly at times. It's the story of two singing mermaids, or sirens, or nymphs, or naiads, who come ashore and end up being employed in a nightclub that specializes in variety acts and adult entertainment. These lovely, nubile, seemingly young creatures can transform from finny to shapely and leggy with the application of water, and though they sing like angels, they have some very quirky and unsettling predilections. This wild tale with fishtails is as much a musical, actually, as La La Land, although it mixes original Polish rock songs and ballads with some familiar pop fare. In the opening sequence, this nightclub singer is singing Donna Summer's I Feel Love, for instance. But there's some original material, too. And by the way, it's directed by a woman, Agnieszka Samowska, so get over any thoughts that this might exploit those sexy mer girls. It's a little camp, too, and put me in mind of the awesome female-centric, color-saturated, faux retro grindcore movie from last year, The Love Witch, which was also directed by a woman. This is a sexy mix of horror and comedy and all-around weirdness. Yeah, it's subtitled. It's in Polish. I don't care. Give me more of this stuff. Anyway, what do you got going on, buddy?
Nothing much. A couple of things. One thing I caught up with that I think everybody else should try and catch up with, and that was Preacher, a series that was done on AMC. About half a year ago,
about a year and a half, and they have a second season of them coming up shortly. It's based on a comic book series, but not conventional at all.
No, not conventional at all, and I thought just terrific.
Stars Dominic Cooper, is that right?
Yep, that's right. And oddly enough, Ruth Negga, who has been nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actress. Not in Preacher, however.
No. She's Ruth Negga is fantastic. She's been in a bunch of stuff. We mentioned that she was in the original version of The Night Of as the victim in the UK when it was the first season of Criminal Justice. Mm-hmm. She's been on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. She is a wonderful actress.
Yeah, she's a very good actress. Anyway, so that's one show. And the other that I suggest people watch, but I'm going to ask them to do something illegal to watch it. It's called Taboo. They're showing it in America on FX. Okay, FX has the American rights to Taboo. This is a show with Tom Hardy from the same producers that did Peaky Blinders, and it's really quite good. But the problem is the American version is 10 minutes short, so they can fit in the commercials.
Oh, man.
So if you go online or go to certain places, you can probably lay your hands on the British version of this show, which usually most of the episodes are about an hour.
And I think you can, just as long as it says Taboo UK, and it may be taboo, but you're right. It's a hell of a show. It's a period piece. It's dark, and Tom Hardy is totally in his element in this film show thing.
And the British version, they say fuck. So, I mean, and cunt.
Oh, don't take those words away from me.
Yeah, well, they probably took them away. I don't think they made it to the American FX cut. But, my feeling is, why take a show like this if you're not going to run it the way it should be run, And then they break it up with commercials, too. That's the other problem.
Ruining the rhythm. The law-abiding citizens, I know you're out there. You might want to wait till it shows up on Amazon or Netflix, but I'm telling you, it is a hell of a show.
But it is available.
Yeah.
Okay, well, and those are mine for this week, so... Whatever.
Yeah, I'll rely on those as our TV coverage this week. And you know what? You can catch up to me on Twitter at Culture Blaster, or go to the Michael Snyder's Culture Blast page and listen to Alex and I talk about the world at large. And I'll be back hopefully next weekend.
Okay. Thank you, Michael. And for everybody else, there's more GABNet coming right up.